Talafalava and Fafatai everyone for joining us today. My name is Sahara Anai. I was born and raised in Samoa and come from the villages of Safune in the big island of Savaii and Tomatangi and Whangali'i from the island of Upolu. I now reside in Tamaki Makaurau, Aotearoa and work as a program manager in Adria and a member of the Pacific Koloa Collective.
Talafalava, my name is Tuuu, mai ta'anoa lumanu. I'm a New Zealand-born Samoan, but I've worked extensively in Asia and in the Pacific since 2009. My father comes from the village of Whaleapuna, Va'ofunti on the east coast. My grandfather comes from an important village called Siumu. I work as the technical manager for Habitat for Humanity on the international programs team.
I'd like to talk about our Koloa conceptual framework from my perspective as a Samoan working in the development sector. In doing so, it is important that you think of this in your own culture and embrace where our similarities are. Where we have differences, I am not here to tell you that my way or your way is a better way. I ask that you receive this with an open mind and let us talanoa in areas where we can improve together as practitioners, as leaders, and as peoples in this sector. There are three components in our Pacific Koloa conceptual framework. One is Koloa, meaning wealth and riches. Two is Whakakoloa, meaning to enrich. And three is Koloia, meaning being in abundance. Building back better through leadership from the framework component of Koloa means building back better using the wealth and riches of knowledge, wisdom, experience, and culture of our Pacific people. They are different from yours, but they are fundamental to guide us as practitioners in designing development projects and programs that are sustainable.
It's about not only being focused on the program, if you like, but rather ensuring that we preserve our heritage and our culture to ensure that we contextualise the program that is suitable for us in Samoa.
There is a Samoan saying, e fofo e le ala mea, which means the solution to any problem lies within the space where the problem exists. The alamea is a type of starfish that lives in the shallow waters of our Pacific Ocean. The side facing up of the alamea starfish is very spiky, and if you step on the alamea, its poison can be fatal. To remove this poison, you turn the alamea on its belly, where it's spongy-like with suctions, and you place that on a part of your body where you had been pricked, and the alamea through its suction will suck its own poison out, releasing you from the pain or what could have been potentially your death. The solution to the alamea is in the alamea. The solution to the problem is within the space where the problem exists. Now, from the perspective of development and humanitarian responses and programs, if we are addressing problems at the community level, the solution sits in the koloa of that community. Similarly, if the problem is in governance of an organization or government, the solution sits in the koloa of that organization or government. What we have to do as practitioners is ask the right questions to receive the right koloa. Building back better through leadership from the framework component of whakakoloa is a process of enriching this wealth, or koloa. As practitioners, the act of whakakoloa is taking that abundance of information from the koloa and converting that into actions that enriches these values. Sir Ratu Kamisesemara, a Fiji politician who we all know to have led the revolt by Pacific Island delegates, which brought about the restructuring of the South Pacific Commission, amongst many other international accomplishments for Pacific people, he stated that Pacific solution to Pacific problems means unlearning Western modes. Unlearning Western modes can also be looked at as decolonized thinking. It's shifting our way of thinking so that Pacific peoples become primarily dependent on themselves, first and foremost, and then secondarily dependent on Western systems. This also requires us as practitioners to also shift our way of thinking. There are no ill feelings about Western systems in place. As a matter of fact, these systems, in most parts, remain useful and helpful to our Pacific people. My observations have been that, in the process of strengthening these systems, have we accidentally weakened the confidence and ability of our people to be self-reliant? Have we accidentally increased the dependency of these communities on us or on these systems rather than themselves? Have we been too focused in equipping them with the knowledge to access these systems rather than the knowledge to address issues within their communities first and foremost, and only reach out to these systems when they need to? If you're wondering how you have done this as a practitioner, after today, find some time to look back at your co-design and community consultation notes and determine for yourself whether the koloa from the communities answer the question of what can the project do to improve their access to systems to cater to their needs, or does it read like the koloa from the communities answer the question of what can you do as a community to be self-reliant? Let us look at an example and a case study to demonstrate this. Violence against women, with all the systems of safety houses and helplines that we continue to invest in, what do you think happens to these systems during a disaster? With COVID, they've been unable to operate fully. With cyclones, they are inaccessible because of damaged roads and communications. And any disaster comes with an increase in violence. Through our projects, we built the capacity of our communities, the skills to access these systems, but they can no longer access any of these systems. But if our projects had built resilience in the communities and its peoples by investing in their koloa to upskill them, pay for their time, resources, and utilizing existing committees that have been established by these communities, independent of us, then these communities will have the confidence to resolve these issues within themselves and within their communities as their primary and first solution.
What did our forebears do before all of this technology? How did they handle things like tropical cyclones and so on? And the answer, unfortunately, there's some sad news. In the past, if there was a tropical cyclone, then the villagers would go into the forest. They would cut down trees. They would come back. They would create a small, simple whaleo'o, open-style home, and then, you know, the men, it used to be their job. I remember as a kid, they used to create the sinnet rope, very strong, free, but now all of that has largely disappeared. And within a very short number of generations, now people sit by without doing anything. We've suppressed that resilience because they're waiting for the delivery of tin and timber.
Building back better through leadership from the framework component of koloia is, now we are in abundance of this koloa. What will you do with this knowledge? How will you do your work differently as a practitioner to enrich the lives of our Pacific communities? Whaftai te lava.
I wanted to say a big thank you to the New Zealand government and to the various NGOs that are going through the negotiated partnership process. I'm a real fan and supporter of negotiated partnerships for a number of reasons. The first reason is people retention. I've already addressed the idea that we lose good people through because they might be working somewhere else or working for themselves, but normally for more money. But those people that we do retain in 3-year and 5-year projects, under the old system, the contestable system, would stop a project and then start another project, and in the meantime, some of our most valued assets, the staff, wouldn't be working. They'd have nowhere to go. I know that some of the people I'd worked for, wonderful people, with for some years, ended up selling barbecue on the side of the road because they've still got bills to pay. Negotiated partnership represents the certainty of retention, that we can keep on developing these fine colleagues, and that is security of tenure. But we've got a 5-year tenure, and before that we can then renegotiate so that there's no break. That was a big win. When I first heard that, my first reaction honestly was, thank God. The idea that we're flexible and that somewhere along the line we have a review where we can test those assumptions, and if they're wrong, change them, or if they need tweaking, then tweak them. That loop, self-assessment loop, also gives rise to the equalisation. We do have to listen very intently to the people on the ground, to our First Nations who are delivering these programs. The other thing that I really like about this is that we can develop this within guidelines. We can develop this program, and that after a while, if we do need to improve that program, understand that it's a fixed bucket of money, then we have that flexibility to improve that, to develop pilot schemes or run, test our assumptions. And that, to me, is a really good start to developing programs that fit the country.